Hi folks, we're looking at moral objectives. If there is a God, are there moral objectives? And if not, if there is no God, does that mean we can't have objective moral standards? I'll just read this. Traditionally, atheists have acknowledged that God is a necessary condition of objective moral values, i.e. the sort of moral truths that are discovered rather than invented. For example, Jean-Paul Sartre says, when we speak of abandonment, a favourite word of Heidegger, we only mean to say that God does not exist and that it is necessary to draw the consequences of his absence right to the end. The existentialist is strongly opposed to a certain type of secular moralism which seeks to suppress God at the least possible expense. Towards 1880, when the French professors endeavoured to formulate a secular morality, they said nothing will be changed if God does not exist. We shall rediscover the same norms of honesty, progress and humanity, and we shall have disposed of God as an out-and-out date hypothesis which will die away quietly of itself. The existentialist, on the contrary, finds it extremely embarrassing that God does not exist in an intelligible heaven. There can no longer be any good a priori, since there is no infinite and perfect consciousness to think it. It is nowhere written that the good exists, that one must be honest or must not lie, since we are now upon the plane where there are only men. Dostoevsky once wrote, if God did not exist, everything would be permitted, and that for existentialism is the starting point. Everything is indeed permitted if God does not exist, and man is in consequence forlorn, for he cannot find anything to depend upon, either within or outside himself. Paul Krug's The Central Question about moral and ethical principles concern their ontological foundation. If they are neither derived from God nor anchored in some transcendent ground, they are purely inferior. So, anyhow, Julian Baggini, if there is no single moral authority, i.e. no God, we have to, in some sense, create values for ourselves, and that means that moral claims are not true or false. You may disagree with me, but you cannot say I have made a factual error. And Richard Dawkins' universe that we observe has precisely the properties we should expect if there is at bottom no design, no purpose, no God, no evil, no good, nothing but pitiless indifference. Dawkins concedes it is pretty hard to defend absolute morals on grounds other than religious ones. So I think traditionally the traditional atheist acknowledged that without God you can't have objective morality. Dawkins, a modern new atheist, acknowledges it, but yet a lot of atheists today are trying to say that you can have objective morals, and I don't think you can, because you need an infinite reference point if you're going to have objective morality. You can't say that just because science says that's objectively moral, because science shifts, and who's to say it takes a group of people to say that a scientific truth concerning morality, if there is such a thing, it takes a majority of people to say that that is a morality, but all your morality is rested upon is majority consensus. That does not make your morality objective. Those are my thoughts.